Hi there, and welcome back to Northlight Photographic Workshops. My name is Bill Schwab, and I am starting out tonight on part 2 of the digital negative series that I'm going to be working on here. Now, as you might have seen already, if you follow this link up here, I highly advise you watch part 1 in the series. It doesn't give you really any instructional information other than the fact that it shows you the steps that you go through to make a digital negative and kind of what a digital negative is. I mean, here's a negative right here, and here's the print that was made from that negative. But if you look at the first in the series, you'll get a better idea of what I'm talking about here. Now, what I'm going to be doing here in part 2 is going through downloading and installing QuadTone Rip. QuadTone Rip is a program that I mentioned in the first video, and what QuadTone Rip does is it gives you more control over your Epson printers. Now, that's another disclaimer that I have to give, is that this process that I'm going to be teaching you throughout the series can only be done on Epson printers. And as of this recording, which is December of 2020, there is a new line of Epson printers that are out, the P700, the P900, and as of yet there is not support in QTR for those printers, and I'm not quite sure that that will be the case. But Roy Harrington, who develops this program, has been really good in keeping up with this, and I'm sure that if an update can be made, it will be forthcoming. As of this recording, those printers are all on back order anyway. I'm not really sure what's going on. It might have to do with the pandemic and shipping and that kind of thing, but as of this printing, there are no new printers that you can go out and buy that will work with this QTR program that we're going to be showing you today. But there are plenty of these printers available still on YouTube and things like that, used and in the pre-owned market, and some refurbished are available as well. So I am going to be using an Epson P800 for our purpose today. Behind me I also have an Epson 9800 that is also supported by this program. So there are many Epson printers out there that can use QuadTone Rip in the making of digital negatives. Anyway, like I mentioned today, it's kind of a complicated process in doing this, and so I'm just going to take it by steps. And in this video, the step is going to be just basically downloading QuadTone Rip and installing it on your Macintosh computer, and also downloading the PrintTool app that is also made by Roy Harrington, as well as the DataTool app that's made by Roy Harrington. Now, both of those we'll be using on down the line. DataTool will be necessary in performing the calibration and the curve making that we're going to be doing throughout the course of this series. PrintTool isn't necessarily needed, and it is a $39 at the time of this recording. It's a $39 registration fee for that, and PrintTool won't really work after its 30-day trial without paying for that registration. But again, I say that it's a very helpful program, and I'll show you in a little bit what I mean by that, but it's very helpful. Now, you can print out onto QuadTone Rip through your Photoshop and that kind of thing by disabling, I can't remember how it goes, I'll figure that out later on, but you can say printer controls or Photoshop manages. I believe it's just the printer controls that, and then you go up and you choose QuadTone Rip as your print driver. But anyway, I won't get into that too much right now. I like to use PrintTool. PrintTool is an awesome tool to go along with QuadTone Rip. So anyway, what I want you to do first in doing this is we have to go to QuadTone Rip. So just go to quadtonerip.com or search it on Google. Mine will go to it pretty quick because I go there pretty often. So here we are at the QuadTone Rip website. It will explain to you all of the different printers and things that it uses, and it will also tell you a little bit about its purposes and things like that. Now, there are many other purposes with QuadTone Rip, and it's mostly for black and white printing. And through, as I explained in part 1, most black and white printing on inkjet printers is simulating black and white by use of the colors mixed together. Now what quad tone rip does is it allows you as the artist to control the different print nozzles in printing out your black and white photographs, and you can create your own profiles. Now it comes with a lot of profiles that are built in, like sepia, warm, those kind of things to make your black and white images. But you can also, it's a very robust program, and you can go into a lot of in-depth features with it in creating your own profiles and creating your own curves for black and white printing. Now that's something we won't be doing in the course of this series. I'm going to specifically stick to the digital negative. But these are things that quad tone rip is good with, and once you download it today and you get it set up on your computer, I'd like you to go through some just tests, put paper in your printer and make some of your own black and white prints just to check it out. You know, you won't be making digital negatives right away, but you can make black and white prints with it, and you can get an idea of the control and how the program or how the rip works with Macintosh and with your printer. So anyway, here we are on the quad tone rip page, and you can read it through. I advise you do that. The other thing is we're going to go to downloads next. And here we have all of the different versions that are available. He's kept up the older versions for the different OSs, operating systems on the Macintosh system, as well as Windows. Now, I will say that although I'm working on Mac only for this series, QTR is available for Windows, and you can use it on a Windows system and follow along if you'd like to. They're very much the same as far as I know. I don't work on a PC system anymore, so I can't tell you for sure. But you can download it for that. Now, the other thing being is that the other two programs or the other two apps that we're going to be downloading today, the PrintTool and the DataTool, there aren't there aren't Windows versions for those. Those are only for Mac. So there are appropriations for Windows, and you'll have to read up and do a little bit more research on that for yourself if you're on a PC system. Now, anyway, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to go and I'm going to download the most recent version, which is the Catalina release. Now I'm on Catalina. It goes all the way up to Catalina. It'll go all the way back as well. There's different versions for those. But I am going to take the 2.710 DMG is the one I'm going to download. And so basically you download that. It'll drop it into my download folder. And then once I've done that, I open it up in that download folder, and I'll run that DMG file. Now, I've done that already, and I've got that run here. Now, what happens is once that opens up, you're going to want to hit the installer, and you're going to run a run install. Now, there's also the tutorial here, which is very helpful for building curves for black and white prints and that kind of thing. We're not going to be using that, but it is very helpful, and I urge you to read through all of this because it's a very good program and it's very robust, and depending on your level of printing and your level of expertise with computer systems and things, you can really go far with this program. Now, and there's also the README RTF, the README rich text file. Read through that as well. But anyway, what we're going to do is we're just going to run the install right now. And it opens up, it gives you a bit of the instructions, the introduction, go back and run continue and continue again. I always just go to agree. I've been running this program for years and I've never had any problems for it. I want to install it for all users of this computer. I'm going to run OK. It's going to take 25.4 megabytes on my computer, and I say install. Now you can change install location, but what it's going to do is it's going to install it into your applications folder. So anyway, I'm running install. It wants my password. I give it my finger of my fickle finger of fate here. Anyway, so now I've got it loaded up here, and what's happened is it's opened up right into my applications folder. Now I'll go back there and I'll show you in the applications folder right down here, quad tone rip. Now you'll see some of my QTR, my older folders. Those are folders I used at previous times, and I just kind of keep them around because it has different curves that I've built over the years, and you know, I just never know when I want to go back to it. But anyway, the one that's active now is the one that says Quad Tone Rip. And I'm going to open that up. And inside of this folder, you can see there are several different things that are happening. Now, because we're going to be going back and using this folder quite often, on the Mac, I like to take the whole Quad Tone Rip folder and I drag it over here, excuse me, I drag it over here into my sidebar. And that way I've got real easy access to it at all times. I go up here and I like to have my list view version here rather than the icon view. So I'll go to list view, and now there's a lot of other things that are available in here, and we're just going to go the very basic route because I know that a lot of you don't have i1 readers or you don't have Color Monkey calibrators or anything like that. So we're just going to go the very basic route here, in which we will need a scanner to do that with, and I'm hoping that you do have a scanner available to you, because that's how we will end up reading our step wedges and things. But again, that's in a further in another episode coming up. I don't want to confuse you with that right now, but you will need a scanner throughout this process. I probably should have said that at the beginning. Anyway. So what you want to see, you've got I1 thing, you've got curve design. These are all kinds of things that you're probably not going to need unless you're going to get very advanced with this program in black and white printing. But anyway, what you are going to need is you're going to need the profiles folder. So I'm going to have you open up the profiles folder. And in here, you're going to see profiles for all of the different printers that this program, that Quad Tone Rip, will work with. And you can see there's many of them going back in the whole line of Epson printers that can be used for making digital negatives. As I said, I'm using the P800 with the Ultrachrome ink system. I just like to use the OEM inks. I like to use Epson inks. I don't get into the piezography inks or anything like that. I'm just going to work strictly with the OEM inks at this time because I think that they're just as good, and it's easier that way to not have to change inks in your printer, to not have to worry about clogs and things like that, which you do get into at times. No matter what people say, you get into some problems with clogging when you're using aftermarket inks. And the other thing, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, the new series of Epson printers won't allow third-party inks anyway, so you're going to have to use the Epson inks at that point anyway. But anyway, back to this. P800 UC, that's the one I'm going to use right now. So what I sometimes do is I will delete all of these other, because I'm not using the other profiles, just so there's not so much in here to clutter things up, I will delete those, but I'm not going to have you do that right now because there's some other folders that we might want to have in the future, including install scripts, which have the install scripts for this program for all the different printers. Now, even though each install script is in each folder for each profile for each printer, they have them all in here as well. Now, that's just something I like to keep if you're going to delete the other folders. Now, okay, so now we're here in the P800 UC, the UC. Now, what's going to happen is all of these in here, you can see there's the install P800 command. Now, that's the command file that will install this, this RIP on your Macintosh as another printer. All of these other files that you see here, these text files, these are all different curve files that have been built by Roy and other people to give these different looks to the images. Like you've got the raw sepia, the raw cool, duo warm, all these kind of things, and all of these will show up as printer curves when you open up the Quad Tone Rip when you're making your image. So that way you can choose and say your black and white image, you want it to have a kind of a sepia feel, or you want to have it have a cool feel, or something like that. You can choose one of these curves and you can actually print out your black and white print with that look to it. Now, again, for the purposes of digital negatives, we're not going to be using any of these curves, but they are going to be in there. Now, you could delete them out of there before we run this install command and they wouldn't be available to you, but I don't advise you to do that because this is going to be a good program for you to use, not only for digital negatives, but for printing out black and white prints in the future. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to run this install command here. So I've got install P800 command, and I'm going to double click that and I'm going to run it. Now you'll see that it opens up a terminal window and it starts running the curves, and it's creating all the different curves and it's creating everything else. And at the end it says finished installing curves for Quad 800. Now that means that the printer is now loaded, and you can close all these windows for now. You can see installation was successful. Close that. I'm going to keep it for now, not move it to the trash. I'm going to close this window. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my system preferences, and I'm going to open that up. And in system preferences, now I'll go to printers and scanners, and I'll open that up, and now you can see that it has your original print driver for the printer that you're using, which in my case is the P800, and now it has this cool new printer listed in here, which is the Quad P800. Now that is your quad tone rip program that you're going to be using when you're printing out. So anyway, so now you can see that both of them are active. They have green dots after them. That means that my printer is plugged in and they're idle. Okay, so now what happens is that if I want to print something out in the future, I'm just going to choose that printer rather than choosing my Epson printer, if you know what I mean. When you go through there and you say select printer, you're going to select that printer. So with that, I am going to take a little bit of a break here, and we're going to take the next step here in a couple of minutes. So, okay, so now that I've had a little break and rested my voice there, now what we're going to do, now that we've downloaded QTR, what I would like you to do, you don't have to do it at this time, but Roy has set this up as kind of a shareware program where, you know, when you download it, it's fully functional. But the thing is that he does ask for a $50 donation. Even if you want to make less than that, it would be really great if you would do that. Now, he asked for $50. You can go on his website here through PayPal, and you can pay that registration fee. Now, again, the program will work without it, but I like to work on good karma, and the fact that Roy has been doing this for many years now, 20 years, I can't even remember how long I've been using this program. But it's worth every penny of it. I highly advise you to go in and do your registration fee. Now, the next step here is that we're going to download the DataTool. DataTool is going to be important when we use Richard Boatwell's Quick Curve DN program that we're going to start in on the next episode, part 3. But you won't need it at this time, but what I would like you to do is to download it, and we'll get it all set up so that you can use it. It's very simple. It's just a simple app that at some point in this thing when I'm teaching you, you're going to be dragging a text file over to it to open it up. It's not even an app that you open up. It's just something that I want to have you have reside in the dock on the bottom of your screen here. So anyway, DataTool is available right down below in the downloads page. You'll see DataTool right down here at the bottom, DataTool zip. Now again, this is only for the Mac program that it will, only for Mac that it will work on, but it's going to be very helpful for you in the process of building the curves that we're going to be building. Now also there's a step wedge tool here that you can download. You're not going to need that because once again in Richard's program there is a step wedge in there that we're going to be downloading in the resource folder when you do download his program. So anyway, for right now we're just going to download the DataTool, and after that then we're going to go up here to PrintTool and we're going to download PrintTool as well. Now again, I have to say that the PrintTool isn't required for all of this, but I highly recommend it. For an extra $39, it's well worth it. And you can use it not only with printing out your digital negatives, but with printing out anything. And what it does is it allows you, much like other more expensive rips like image print and thing, it allows you to gang different photographs up on one sheet of paper without having to create an image in Photoshop that has all of those images included, if you know what I mean. So I can just take, you know, this JPEG and that TIFF and whatever, and I can just put them all on that page and size them so they all fit and print them all out at the same time. It's a very handy program and I highly recommend it. So anyway, next here we're going to go down here and we are going to download the DataTool app zip. That drops down into our DataTool, or down into downloads. So there it is right there. I also want you to take this and drag it into your applications folder. So what I do is I open up my Finder, I go down here, and I drag DataTool over into my applications folder. Now I've already got it in there, so I'm not going to do it right now, but I want you to do that. And then what happens is when you go up here and you open up your applications folder, you're going to find up here in the, let's see, where am I going here? There's DataTool. So we're going to take DataTool, and then we're going to take it and just grab onto it and drag it down here onto our toolbar. And so that way it's easily accessible. Now, again, I don't want you to use that. I don't even want you to click on it right now, but it is there for future use, okay? Now, next step is to go to download PrintTool. Now, when you hit the PrintTool page here, it takes you to the PrintTool page. Now it'll explain to you here, it can print to any print driver. You don't have to use it with QTR. It's a really helpful program, really handy program. But again here, this program you have to buy, and so it's $39 for the serial number. It's not a big deal. I advise you to buy it, download it, and get it ready to go. Now once you've downloaded it, I want you to once again drag that over into your applications folder, okay? So once it's in your applications folder, once again, I'll go down here and I'll find my print tool, which I've already done this. And I'm down here and here's print tool. And I'm just going to take print tool and I'm going to drag it over right next to DataTool. And that way I have all of these things available to me very easily to use. So now, that's basically it. That's basically it for this video. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly open up PrintTool and show you what I've been talking about. So once you've got PrintTool downloaded and you've paid for your serial number, I open that up, and as you can see now, I have the page open here. Now I can choose my media size that I'm going to be printing on, and I can choose my, I can choose the size, I can choose the orientation that I want to print on, that kind of a thing. And then what I do is I just go over here to the handy plus button, or up here to File, and I want to open an image. So then I go here and I find my different things, and in this one I have the negative that I showed you in part one, the moonlight one that I shot out here outside the other night. So I'm going to choose that, and that drops it right into the program here so that you can choose where you want it to go. If you want to print it out in the center like that, you want to flip the orientation, maybe you want to put two of them up. If you want to do that, the beauty of it is you just come over here, you highlight that, and you choose this tool which duplicates your image. And that way, say you want to do that one, and then you want to do several of them that are of a smaller size. So you can make that, and then you can make another one, and you can gang up a whole sheet of them if you want. So that's another one of the cool things about PrintTool. Now, here is another thing that I want to show you now that we have this set up, is I'm going to print out a negative for you. We're going to go up here and we're going to say Run Print. Now you're going to see that it opens up to my normal, the default printer is my normal Epson printer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to choose my Quad P800 printer that we've just added. Now I am using the quad tone rip to print this out. And if I go down here and I choose my toggle here that says Layout, I can go down here and I can see quad tone rip. So then I choose quad tone rip, and then when I open up here in my, my curves, you're going to see all the different curves that you've loaded over the time. Now I already have this loaded on here, so I have my current curve that I've made for Palladium printing that works with this printer. So I'm just going to choose that right now, but this is where you would choose all of your different, different settings for your black and white prints, or once you've made your digital negative curves, you can put them in here. Now the other thing is that we're going to be testing this out, and we're going to be making a curve for the Palladium process. But when you want to do something with the cyanotype process, you come back in and you go through the process that we're going to go through in the upcoming episodes, you go through that process for every process that you've done. And that way you have a curve in here for every process you're doing. So the next time you want to do a palladium print, you choose your palladium curve. Or say you want to make a cyanotype, you choose your cyanotype curve. Or if you've made one for a Van Dyke print, you choose your Van Dyke. And it's that easy, you know, so you'll get to the point where the image that you see on your screen will be the same image that you print out on your paper when you've made your final negative and you've made your final print. So anyway, with that, we're going to go ahead and I'm going to choose this. I like to choose the 16-bit. I've saved the photograph as a 16-bit, so I choose the 16-bit. It's apples and oranges. It really doesn't make much difference. I mean, your eye doesn't perceive the sharpness of the image. You know, you're not going to tell the difference between an 8-bit or 16-bit image. I just choose the 16-bit because I can. The information's there and I can. Now I've chosen my curve, the palladium curve that I've made before. This is also a curve that we're going to be making in the course of this series of videos in upcoming episodes. I've got sheet feed here. I've already got a piece of my my film in there, which I'm using Fixons for this. I've got it set at 2880 DPI. I've got it set at bidirectional. Now that means that it will print both ways, not just in one way. And everything is all set. So I say print, and it's going to start running it out on my printer. And so anyway, with that, that's the end of part 2. We've got quad tone rip loaded. I hope that you've opened up your pocketbook and registered and given Roy a little bit of support. And I hope that you've also downloaded PrintTool, because this is a very handy program to use in the process of making your digital negatives. And once again, as I said in part 1, I've made available for a limited time a print that I've made from the negative that we made today. And what I'm doing is I've offered you this print and the negative that it's printed with, so that you can see for yourself what this is and how this actually works, and physically hold the negative and see the print that it was made from, so you can see for yourself before you get into this yourself. So that's available by looking in the link below. If you like this and you found it helpful, I really hope you'll give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I've been really happy for the response to part 1. It's been pretty overwhelming, actually. I've had some really nice letters from people, and you've asked some really good questions, and I think that I'm going to get to some of those in subsequent videos as well. But anyway, with that, I hope that you have good luck setting this up, and look for part 3 coming up soon, which will be getting into downloading Richard Boatwell's Quick Curve DN program and loading that up, and we're going to start the process of building your own curve. All right? So take care, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.